So you get to learn about Franklin and Erica in this presentation. They're going to tell us about what they did. And we want to give them a big round of applause. Everybody online, I want you clapping in your house so we can celebrate their success. Come on up. So when I first joined, my first property that I bought as an operating partner was Oakland Oaks Apartments, 38 units in South Irving, right? Terry was the operation consultant that held my hand and helped me get through that deal, right? So I'm excited that y'all's first property is how many units?
32.
There you go, all right. So tell us, Franklin, Erica, who's going to talk now?
I'm going to be the main talker.
So we used to only have one microphone up here, and I remember from case studies I used to, there'd be husband and wives fighting like, no, you're telling the story wrong, right? So anyway, let's go.
So my name is Franklin, and this is my better half, Erica. And we've been together for more than half of our lives at this point. So I was born in New York, moved into Florida, and that's where I met Erica, and we then traveled and moved to Dallas. We joined LU in, was it 2022?
2021.
2020, she corrects me. She has a better memory. Oh, it's even better, it's on the slide. So 2021.
You put this together, right?
Yeah, yes, it's been a little bit. So we actually knew about LU many years ago before that, but at that time, Erica was finishing school. We knew we were going to move. We came to a case study, but we didn't actually do the 2-day, so we didn't really know we can invest where we want and live where we want. So we waited, and basically we moved back to Dallas towards the end of COVID time. And I was like, as soon as there's an in-person event, I'm joining LU, and that's exactly what happened.
So I want to ask this. You said you came to a case study and then went to a 2-day, right?
No, I didn't go to the 2-day.
Okay, so you came to a case study, and then you waited a few months?
Years.
COVID happened, and you lost your chance to get started right away?
This is
2014, 2015, I think.
This is many years ago.
So wait, you came to a case study when I was just a 1-year member, because I joined in 2013.
All I could say is don't make that mistake. That was a big mistake on our side. We knew several people who became leads as well as passives. They've been doing fantastic. I used to watch the case studies, listen to the podcast videos, and just sit there. I was like, oh man, my time is coming. So as soon as we moved back to Dallas, that's when we decided to make it happen, as soon as they opened things back up.
Excellent. So then you came to a case study.
I was already sold. So at that point, it was
We're going to a 2-day.
Yeah, it was selling to Erica. I went to a 2-day on my own at first. I'm super excited. She was like, oh, okay. So I was like, all right, let me bring her along to the 2 days as well, just so she can understand exactly what I'm saying. So she came at the end of it, actually midway, especially when we started talking about the multifamily. She was like, I
was
get
sold.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
she got it. So.
Oh, yeah.
At that point, I already knew that I wanted to be a lead, but I had to get her buy-in. As soon as she was sold, I was like, all right, we're going to do this. And, it took essentially a year of time to find that property, on the road quite a bit of property, but thankfully we found the right one for ourselves as well as our investors. So super excited.
Let's not get ahead in the slide deck.
Oh, okay.
But what I want to highlight is when you figured out you really wanted to do this, you came back and took a 2-day, right?
Oh, of course, correct.
And so the 2-day is happening this weekend. Chris is going to be teaching it.
With me.
All right, here. And if you haven't signed up yet, if you think you want to own real estate, Lifestyles Unlimited is the best education and networking group out there. I've looked at a few of them. This is the best, right? We actually buy real estate here. Go back and talk to Keith and sign up to come this weekend, okay? It's only a few $100, right? Seriously, if you're wearing a yellow tag and you haven't talked to Keith, you need to go talk to him. All right, next slide.
So why did you join Lifestyles Unlimited? So I always wanted to invest in real estate, not because I really read a lot of real estate books, but I read a lot of, call it maybe money management, self-help books, but everybody always talked about, investing in stocks, bonds, that kind of stuff. But I always noticed at the beginning and the end of the book, all the authors own real estate, and that's actually where they made all their money. Never talked about real estate in the book, but they were real estate owners. So I was like, I don't know what's the secret that they're not saying, but there's been a very consistent and common theme. So I was interested in real estate. At first, I wanted to do the house hacking, that kind of stuff, but Erica did not want somebody living around us.
Sure.
As soon as we moved out of the apartment, so that was the out. And there's a lot of, like you were talking about, like the gurus and stuff online, but it's like as an engineer, I need to see things. It needs to be real. I need to be able to talk to real people that did it. And it wasn't until lifestyles and getting to meet people who actually own real estate and was always open and honest that I felt very comfortable in doing it. I'm not necessarily a risk taker by any means. So, for me to kind of jump in really meant that I got a lot of the information and a lot of the questions that I had answered by real experts in that area. So Lifestyles created a map. It made sense. Best product, best price makes sense. Make sure you're raising enough money so you can treat your residents well, that you can provide for them. We lived in many apartments, had different experience, and not being able to get certain things fixed, or the quality of the unit that they're, pictures online and you go in the unit is completely different. It's very frustrating. So
the best product, best price.
Simple, effective.
Yep. Excellent. And the real opportunity to retire early?
Yeah, so my goal was always to retire early, partially because, Eric and I, we have, higher end degrees, masters, PhDs. So we spend a lot of time apart. It's only last few years is when we actually kind of moved in and lived together, even though we've been together for so long. So, there's a lot of missed opportunities there. So I figured, being able to not worry about money necessarily will allow us to kind of gain back some of that time that we lost as we were going through our journeys from school and work.
Excellent. And I like something you said about you looked at other things and the gurus and that kind of thing, and Lifestyles was different, right? And Lifestyles, it's forced networking. It's best product, best price, best practices, right? We celebrate each other's successes like we're doing tonight. You're going to learn things from him that he did on this property that you could probably do on your properties. Copy, right? And so at Lifestyle, you go a lot of places, they won't show you the book, they won't tell you what the secret sauce is. At Lifestyles, we tell you what the secret sauce is, and then we show you how to make it.
I would 100% agree. So in school, cheating is terrible. You'll fail, flunk out. 95% of everything I've done is because either mentors, the education, operation consultant, or just other leads. Just talking to leads. It's like, we got my first rehab unexpectedly. What paint are you using?
Yep.
What vendor are you using? There was, things that weren't supposed to be coming for many months just came suddenly, and I wasn't necessarily prepared, but I literally had an army of people in that area who've been doing this for many years, owed many units that I can ask, and they can give me their honest feedback, and it just made things a lot simpler without the risk of hiring the wrong person, losing a ton of money as that part of the learning process. There's a lot of people who had done it already, and I was able to just copy them, and it helped a lot.
And it's an acronym, actually. It's not stealing, it's not copying, it's SWIPE, which means steal with integrity, pride, and enthusiasm, right? So, swiping.
I like that.
All right, so finally we'll get to Cedars Apartment down in Cedars Hill.
Yep. So Cedars Apartments, 32 units, 1970s build. Now the interesting in 1970 build, a lot of times they have like flat roofs, boiler, chillers, which can be an issue, especially very pricey, expensive to maintain. Luckily, this community has pitch roofs, which is nice. It has individual water heaters, which is, or not individual, but there's water heaters instead of a boiler. So there's two water heaters at the property, and then individual HVAC units. And other big thing is plumbing and electrical. So plumbing We had cast iron, which is, PVC is.
I think we have a slide that says why you like this deal later on.
All right, I'm jumping ahead of
So let's
myself.
talk about
this.
32 units built in 71. You bought it in 2023 in May, right?
I'm too excited, but yes,
Yep.
2023. So this was $136 or $136,000 per door.
Door.
You asked about
4.3 million.
4.3 million. You was asking about cash out of pocket, so
2 million.
2 million, and then initial financing 3 million, and then we had a rehab budget of 274,000.
So, out of curiosity, how many partners are in this deal?
43
Okay.
total.
So, Franklin didn't stroke a $2 million check for this property, right? Do you think some of your partners are in the room or actually online with us?
They are
Raise your
definitely
hand.
yeah.
Raise your hand. Let me know if someone's raising their hand.
So thank y'all.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, without divulging any names, who has $2 million to go, pick up 32 units, right, in Cedar Hill, right? Who has 50,000 and they'd be a partner in the deal, right? Yeah. So what was your highest or what was your lowest investor? Sorry, lowest amount.
25,000.
Excellent. Yeah. So I got led into my deal, my first deal, with 25K, right? Then I bumped it up to 50. A lot of our lead investors, they give back, right? Because that set me on the path to retire myself in 2 years, right? The same thing they're going to be doing here in a year or two. So it's okay. It's just another email we send to another partner, right? A $25,000 or $50,000 investor. So excellent. So you
Wait.
got, did I forget something?
There's one more.
Go ahead.
Are they all Texan investors?
No, they're online.
I know, but let him answer the
Okay.
question.
They're not all Texan investors. We have, of course, a lot of from Texas, but we have
Washington, Oregon, Missouri, Colorado,
Indiana
Indiana.
as well. I think there's one or two other states, so nationwide.
So you can live where you
So
want.
online, if you're not in Texas, raise your hand.
You can live where you want, invest where you want. This can work anywhere.
Yeah, it does. It does. So financing of $3 million, and you need to do some rehab, which we'll talk about in a second, of about $275,000. Right?
Yep.
Excellent. So here's some. We're going to get a lot more into detail in numbers, so I'm just going to cover these quickly. We have 2 slides that throw down into here, but here's some good stuff here. Overall, on the income, the property brings in about $476,000, right? Annualized. 167. So monthly cash flow the property's making is about $10,000. So you see, you take the 476 minus the 167, that should equal the NOI, right? That $300,000 number. And then you pay your debt service, which, of course, Chris is going to teach you all about this weekend. But right now, Franklin, I think you're paying about 5%, right, cash flow?
Yep.
Or about
over 5.
$10,000 a month to the partners. So, and since you've owned it in May, you've already distributed over $100,000. Nice. So you bought it for $4.375 million, and currently estimated value is about $5.4 million.
That's correct.
Excellent. So Franklin's created $1 million in owning and operating this property since May of 23, people, right? I'm sorry. Erica's created $1 million in equity.
That's the better answer.
Excellent. Good work, man. Good work. So now, let's talk about the rehab a little bit.
Yeah, so this property, it was a 1970s build. The previous owner actually did a pretty good job with it. So the exterior-wise, we didn't have to do anything too fancy. A lot of times people need to paint, do a lot of balcony work, that kind of stuff. A lot of it was more related to like the fascias and stuff for the apartment, just because the gutters were not necessarily in the best condition, so just water damage over time. So I already knew because I spoke to the city beforehand and just like, hey, was there anything that you're potentially going to flag on this building? And they kind of gave me an idea, a rundown. Of course, insurance always has some kind of surprise of what they want you to get fixed, but luckily pretty much everybody just kind of came around with the same items over and over again. So I didn't have triple the work. It was kind of 1.5 times the work with all the inspectors from the lender, from the city, and other part of the city that came to view the property. So concrete, a little bit of concrete work, like I said, fixing some rotted wood. So I was very happy because, once again, finding the right vendor that I got based off of other LUs and members in my lead suggested it was about, quite a bit less than I was expecting to pay. So that was money we were able to keep in our pockets for either our investors or to help with some more rehab or value adds we could do at the property.
Sorry, I want to look at something here. So the initial rehab budget was $274, right? For how many units?
32.
That single family deal we just seen had a $96,000 rehab, right? That's phenomenal. It was taken care of pretty well, I guess. So here's some interiors.
Yeah, so the pictures on the first three in the top left, they were actually the very first unit that I had a rehab. Unexpectedly, it was like day 6. The residents just kind of bailed on me, and then I noticed because they usually had like a little table outside, for like people not to bother them. And I was walking by and it was gone. I was like, okay, something's up.
Where they set their beer or what?
I have no idea what they were doing with it, but I went in, I gave them a call. They said they fled, yada, yada, yada. So I came in, and once again, my first, the first resident that was supposed to move out was supposed to be in like July, August time frame, and this is a few days in. So I was like, okay, what am I going to do? But,
awesome.
Once again, I just called different leads. I talked to mentor about it. I got suggestions for literally everything. Everything you see on the right-hand side is like I went on leads websites, did their little 3D tour.
That looks like my property, man. I don't know.
And I just took pictures, or I was like, okay, I like this floor. Called a lead, who's your vendor, or I talked to Erica because my designing, is terrible. So I was like, oh, how does this look?
So many paint colors. I've compared so many paint colors.
Yeah.
In a minute.
It's agreeable gray or versatile gray. One of those.
Worldly gray.
That Worldly gray is the new name. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so what you see on the left is an older unit. The resident lived in there for quite a bit of time. What you see on the right is the premium unit. So you have the granite countertop, tile backsplash, gooseneck faucets. That mirror was a lot of work to find the right mirror, surprisingly. I needed a cost-effective mirror that looked nice, looked premium, that kind of fished that brushed nickel theme. So I'm very happy how that turned out. And it's literally at that point, once you do it once, you're generally just copy and pasting. So the first time is a bit of a headache, but you know what you need. You get your parts list, you get your vendors, your vendors understand what you need. And after that point, unfortunately, given that we don't have too many floor plans, I just tell them, do it just like you did this, and it gets taken care of.
That's it. Rinse and repeat. So
Exactly.
on the previous slide, did we have your at purchase NOI, like the T12 NOI when you took over?
No.
Okay, all right. Just wondering. But I mean, this is how we increase income. So the unit on the right, how much does it rent for above what the unit on the left rents for?
So it was $100.
$100 bump after a rehab.
Correct.
Right. And one beautiful thing about multifamily is the way property is evaluated. And Chris is going to teach you all about this weekend. But in single family, it's on comps or what your neighbor sold for. In multifamily, you increase the value of the property because it's appraised on the income approach. If you increase the income, it's a business, right? If the business has more income coming in, it's worth more, right? You don't have to wait for your neighbor to appreciate. So we do what's called like forced appreciation in multifamily, which makes, there's a reason the property values increased $1 million in a year, right?
Yep.
Excellent. So here we go, year one. And we're just now over a year into operation, aren't we?
Correct.
Okay, so we have year one actual numbers, paying out cash flow, NOIs, $300,000, right? Year two projections, is that just, so are you completely done with all the unit rehabs?
Surprisingly, no. My renewals were much, much higher than I thought, and I still pushed everybody to market rent.
You didn't rehab it, still bumped them $100?
No.
Man.
So we were so the rehab dollars actually spent is
Okay,
actually
good.
pretty darn low.
Good. But you'll see sometimes in multifamily, it takes a while to turn leases because people want to renew and stay there, and you can't rehab their unit while they're living in it, right? So, but you'll see that the income increases, from year 1 to year 2 by about $35,000, $50,000, $45,000, right? And you see also that about $40,000 increase in the NOI, right? Which of course affects, the cash flow on the property. And then year 3, the NOI is expected to be about $344. And that's just from following the business plan that Franklin set up when he bought this property.
Yep.
Excellent. Oh, there it is. It's on the next slide. You should have told me. So at purchase, am I on? Yep. At purchase, the NOI was $250. You see that year 1, it's $308. Right? Does everybody see that on the top line? That's a huge increase in net operating income in that first year. And that's achieved by cleaning up the exterior of the property, cleaning up the interior of the property. And then you see the percentage increase in year 2 and 3 is slightly smaller, right, than the first year, because that's now, the property's cleaned up, now we're just turning units and increasing rents and better operations. So you get that big bump the first year, which is the $1 million, right? And then we get another $500 million after a couple more years. So, because there's a lot of numbers on the screen, the main one we're going to look at is the bottom in yellow. So after about 3 years of ownership, right, based on following the business plan, which is already well into, right, we're expecting about a $1.2 million in equity capture, right, or about a 60% return on the investors and their original investment. Copy that? Right? Come on. All the while, they've been paying out cash flow.
Correct.
That's phenomenal, man. Good job. Good job.
Appreciate it.
Good job. Seriously, that's great, y'all. So we see that big increase in net operating income, $250,000 to $308, right? So how did you do that?
Yeah, so once again, the property was a very good property. I love the location where it is, and has a lot of good neighbors around that definitely helped, especially in this market. But what we did was we renovated our units, and we're 1970s properties. There are not that many 1970s properties near us. The ones that are 1970s have very terrible reviews when you were doing rent comps. You could just walk into the property and just see the difference. They're usually much bigger properties, which has pluses and minuses. But given that we're a small community, best product, best price. So when somebody's coming into our renovated units, it looks like the picture. It's not a surprise. These are newly renovated apartments. So we became essentially the market leaders in a lot of ways for especially our one-bedroom apartments compared to our more direct comps. We aggressively push renewals to market rent. So like I said, there's a lot of units that I was expecting to rehab that I didn't have to, and I still bumped up resident rents. I think on average it was about $100 rent bump on renewals. Wow. But that's also because our neighbors were largely much newer build properties. So $100 more for us is still $200, $300 less than nearby communities. So it's still, in their view, a good deal.
And we had one resident actually who came from a nearby property who was paying quite a bit more. She was so happy to move into the Cedars and still pay. I think she might have the highest market rent.
She has the highest rent now. And yeah, that was an interesting story because I was in the middle of dealing with chaos in an apartment. It smelled like terrible, and I had no idea why.
Who wants to deal with chaos in an apartment and mess around with all that stuff? Raise your hand. If you're a lead investor, you better raise your hand. Who wants to just give Franklin 25 or 50K, let him deal with it? Excellent. Yeah.
Yeah, she banged on our door and we made it happen for her, and she renewed. And like Erica said, I was nervous. I was like, man, she's paying the most out of everybody, but she was more than happy to stay. She doesn't have any issues, so that helped quite a bit. But enforcing violations and
Yeah.
termination fees was a big one. Just seeing what was going on. I had a resident with a pet, even though I kept on telling him you can't have pets. He effectively racked up $300 plus in fines that he paid off. But, you know, that's money coming in our pockets, but that's enforcing our lease and just making sure that they understand, you know, why we have the rules. Trash was a big issue for residents. It doesn't look good when people are touring their property and there's trash mops all over the place. So you $25, $50, $100 fines and cleans up the property. And once again, that's helping with our income and NOI.
And 99% of real estate is leased on curb appeal, what it looks like from the street when they drive by, right? I know we teach that. Water expenses, had some leaks.
Yeah, so these were, once again, 1970 properties, and I never experienced this in my life before, and the seller actually kind of warned me about it, but I didn't realize.
Everybody has their first time, man.
Yeah, well, I definitely learned a lot, but given the situation with the faucets and the tubs, a lot of them would leak. And you're talking about 32 units, and you know sometimes it's a dripple, like little drops. Sometimes it's a constant trickle. For water in the property, we bill back our residents, and you know we're still taking a hit in terms of the expense, even though we're billing it back. But there was a lot of issues like that throughout the property, and sometimes older toilets are running. So that was one of the biggest things we tackled was just fixing those issues, which significantly reduced our expense on the water side, which also saved the money for residents, which probably made that $100 rent bump a lot easier.
Yes. And that's something we'll teach you. It's water conservation, right? Just doing the common sense things that mom and pop owners don't do, right? And there's also 31, 32 ways we increase income in multifamily, right? Chris is going to teach you all 35 this weekend.
The book shows 28.
It shows 29.
28.
But anyway, yeah, one of them is water conservation, right? And the other is billing back water where the resident pays for it, right? So fixing those leaks and that kind of thing. Old AC units, had to replace them.
Yeah, so the previous owner kind of went in and replaced close to half the units, the AC units. Given that we're a smaller property, we don't have an on-site maintenance team, so having an AC unit is instantly a $200 bill, no matter what, which impacts your NOI. So as part of my business plan, we kind of saw he replaced half his AC expenses. Were pretty low, so he was like, okay, let's budget and replace the rest of it. It's a nice story to tell residents, especially
brand new, yeah.
brand new ACs that they can actually control. And it's also helpful for us because we don't have to, since we put that investment up front, we don't have that AC tech having to come to our property and just chipping away at our NOI and our cash flow. So it was a very good idea, and I'm glad that we were able to do it.
Excellent. And Chris will also teach you this weekend. When you do those major capital expenses up front, right, it allows you to increase the book value of the property so you have more to depreciate, right, versus it being an operational expense that affects your income 3, 6, 8 months down the road. I know we're talking a lot of stuff. That's why Chris is going to spend 16 hours teaching y'all this weekend. Before we hop over to resident retention, if someone has a question, think about it in the front of your mind. But more importantly, online, if you have a question, please throw it in the chat box because we'll be wrapping up here in a second. Resident retention, tell me about it.
Yeah, so that was one thing that was a big focus on my side, especially given the market. It was a little bit tougher around that time when I took over. So, you know, David Fisher always says it's cheaper to keep her. So that was a big thing for us because a lot of times the things that residents wanted were probably what I would pay more in terms of their unit being empty or just doing a make-ready. So the amount of, you know, if they needed this fix, if they need a appliance that has been broken down for many, many years, it's so much cheaper just to fix it, once again, using CapEx dollars and make them happy and make them not want to move, which is once again saving us money and increasing the value of the property.
A quick example of that is one of our residents wanted new closet doors, right? She just wanted new closet doors. I can't remember how much this cost. It's not a terrible cost.
Yeah.
So if that
Couple
was going to make her,
$100, yeah.
if that was going to make her happy and allow her to re-sign a lease with us, including a bump in market rent, great.
Some people do a new appliance package. They do closet doors.
And the tip I learned from a mentor is, in that case, and many of the cases, these were residents who's been there for a while.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
if they left, I would have to do the new closets anyway. I would have to get the new appliance. So
You'd have to spend $5,000 to fix that unit versus a $200 closet doors, right?
Exactly.
Of course. Yeah, good show. And property taxes. I mean, if you own real estate, you need to be protesting your property taxes. Or you just need to reach out to the vendor list and let a vendor do it for you, right? Aggressively protest your property taxes. It saves your expenses, which increases your NOI or income, correct?
Exactly.
Good show. All right. So,
like I said, I was interested in real estate, but LU was the first that actually provided a blueprint, a roadmap in terms of achieving financial freedom. Like, I have goals and milestones that I can take actions, or we can take actions to achieve this goal. Before, a lot of it was, I hope the stock market does well for the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But, with force appreciation, buying right, having a fantastic pool of investors to work with, I can see how I can get to my goals. And I'm honestly in control of it for the first time.
good show. Didn't even say your quote.
No. LU has provided me with the blueprint and support to achieve financial freedom.
Excellent. So speaking of goals, right? What are some of your goals
Yeah,
for you and your family?
So our goals is for our second year, third year to exceed our pro forma. We made a commitment to our investors, and our number one focus is making sure that we meet that commitment or at least exceeded. Search for property number 2, 50 unit plus, 32 unit. It's more focused with kind of a bunch of independent vendors, contractors. With 50 plus units, I start having a staff being able to build that expertise.
Economies of scale.
Exactly.
But I want to highlight step 1 there. You said your goal is to meet or exceed your business plan or pro forma that you promised your investors, right?
Correct.
Who wants to invest with a guy like that? Right? And if you're not raising your hand online, you need to come Tuesday this weekend. Okay, and goal number 3, sorry.
Sell property number 1. So we had a business plan to hold the property for a certain amount of years, and my goal is to, once again, meet that business plan and selling, give them more money back because we're cash flowing, but give back the money to our investors so they can redeploy it.
Excellent. And then the family's long-term goals, I guess?
Yeah, so if you're on Facebook, I see everything that Dave Fisher is doing, and I was like, man, it's crazy, it's ridiculous. He has Odin, doing TED Talks, it seems like half of the times, and I would love to do kind of a deep rehab.
So you
like
want
he
to do
is.
an IRO in the hood?
It may be in a hood, but the money looks really good, so yes. And then
Tin
it's
caps
just-
are great.
And it's just the experience because, when you get down to those level of studs, you have a good understanding
Yeah, definitely.
what all your vendors are doing and can supervise in a much better way.
Definitely, definitely.
Retire myself and my wife from our W-2s. Once again, our goal is to buy back a lot more of our time. I've been working since I was in the 3rd grade, so I'm not expecting to retire and do nothing, but I want to be able to, relax, spend time, see my family, see our
Travel.
family, travel, as well as, once again, go and find those opportunities that makes the best sense for our family and our investors.
And you want to win some awards. That's good stuff. That's industry recognition, so that's good.
Yep.
Oh, man. So you'll see the award banners around here, right? Out of the National Apartment Association, hundreds of thousands of units, right? Lifestyles, owners, and operators have won local, state, or national best properties in the country 18 out of the past 18 years, is that where we're at now? Right? We have the best product. We offer it at the best price, right? And we have the best people, the mentors and our operation consultants and other like-minded investors who share the secret sauce, right? Excellent. Good show. Nonprofit business.
Yeah, so I mentioned that I had a job since third grade, and it was because of my best friend's dad had a business and he hired us. And being able to have money when you're in a third grade, and this continued until I graduated from high school, was a big thing for me. So my interest is in computers, software, which is, the future, people say. So, and it's something that any age person can do. So I would love to, once I hit my financial goals, is to create some kind of software company that can educate, teach, even down to middle school kids, and help them learn how to, be an entrepreneur, create websites, create software, and nobody cares how old you are or where you are, and put money in their pocket. So if I don't have to worry about money, I would love to give back and, put money back into the community and younger folks out there.
So a resident event you could do for your residents, find a high school senior who's doing community time for college or something, right, for the resume.
Yep.
Have them come over to the property once a month, do 2 or 3 hours basic computer skills or coding or something like that for the kids. I'm serious. It's a good idea.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. And catch up on some sleep.
It's been lacking.
I was a little sleepy when I created this slide, so when I saw this again, I was a little bit
That's the last
surprised.
thing I want to do.
And I edited it and did not take it out.
Hey, that's important. So, who is on your team? So Mike Spots mentored you on this one, and also Terry, who's in the room with us.
Yeah, so definitely I have a lot to say about Mike Spots and Terry and the LU team in general, but the amount of phone calls that I have given both of them is ridiculous. I'm surprised every time they pick up. There's been emergencies when it was the weekend and they still picked up. And the amount of questions, and people who know me know I like to ask a lot of questions, and their willingness to, answer them. I asked Terry because, there was some confusions I was having, especially given that market at time. I was like, hey, can you come to the property and just take a look and give me pointers and tips? And she was more than happy to do it. So, of course, being a member, you think somebody has to be obligated to do that, but it's above and beyond. Like, I would pay somebody if I wasn't in LU to get the level of support they provided me in literally every step of the way, especially when I took over. I called Terry a lot.
Excellent. Me too. And Sadie from Lifestyles Realty helped you find the deal?
Yeah, so I worked with Sadie. Once again, this is kind of our first investment property that we ever done, in a commercial and an apartment. I wouldn't have any idea how to handle that situation. So Sadie, being an expert, of course, doing a ton of deals herself over many, many years, just working with other leads out there. She handheld me. There was times, especially when you're overwhelmed with the $10 trillion documents and you're trying to do your own things, just reminding me of stuff, giving me good suggestion, tips, vendor suggestions at time. Once again, ton of questions for her. So having somebody to handhold through that process was huge because, there's a lot riding on it, a lot of important timeline, and her team just kind of kept everything on track and got us what we need to execute.
Excellent. And then insurance, you use Ramey King for your property insurance. I use Jeff also, man.
Yep.
He calls me every year. Hey, Brian, how you doing? It's time to renew, Dotson Legal Group did your legal documents and your contracts and stuff like that for you?
Yes, I have no idea how they can read all
I
that
hear you, brother.
jargon all the time. So
You just have to read it with them.
exactly.
Excellent. Well, now we'll take any questions for Franklin or Erica. Anybody got anything in the room? Or over here to your left?
Two questions.
Go ahead, Jeremy.
One, how much did you put into the deal
Okay.
on your start? And the second question is, did you find a hard time finding investors to see how you were working at the same time and not a solo,
I'll,
your own job?
I'll repeat them so online can hear. The first question was, how much did you put in the deal?
So me personally, it was a little over 200,000.
Okay. Out of the 2 million you raised, right? So about 10% ownership. The second question, which is a lifestyles rule, by the way. Good call. The second question was, how'd you find the other partners to invest with you since you had a W-2 job?
Yeah, so first off, I bought this property from a LU owner, and the LU owner also had a W-2 while managing the property and provided the returns that I believe his investor expected. So it wasn't a non-precedent thing. My job, thankfully, have some flexibility, but also my willingness to, there's times before work, I get there at 5 a.m., do what I need to do. After work, go back, 6 p.m., come on the
I'm going to cut you off, man, because we're getting close.
All right.
Hey, y'all, who wants to go buy a property with Franklin? Raise your hand. That's how. You network with other members of Lifestyles Unlimited Preferred Investor Group. Copy? All right. Any other questions? Sorry, we had a couple more. Yes, sir. We'll get you.
We're going over here to the left.
Yeah, good question. Frank, do you self-manage or do you use a third-party property management company?
Yeah, so I self-manage, but I have a team of people that I kind of offload quite a bit of work with different vendors, contractors, handyman.
Do you have a full-time maintenance man?
No.
Do you have a full-time manager?
No.
Leasing agent?
Nope.
You do it. You sign leases?
I sign leases.
Nice.
Yep.
Okay, excellent.
We
You
got
fix
one online?
ACs or you make a phone call?
I fixed an AC a couple of times, surprisingly, but I do also make phone calls.
Dell has a great saying. He's like, if you don't have a leasing agent, you is the leasing agent. If you don't have a maintenance man, you is the maintenance man, right? That's why in Lifestyles, we only allow one lead investor. It's his fault or he's fixing it, right? Copy? Or he's going to make it happen. Good question.
One online.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, we got an easy question here online. One of the members wants to know their names. Maybe he wants to connect with them to invest.
Oh,
He
my
wants to know our
name?
names.
Yeah.
Yes.
Say your name, please.
My name is Franklin Cooper,
There you go.
What's your company?
93rd
93rd?
Capital.
Yep.
93rd Capital. All right.
Excellent.
Leo?
Leo, let's go. Well, hold on, wait. There's one behind you, Leo. I'm sorry. We'll save yours for last because it's going to be the best.
I was curious what rents are in your property and where do you live in relation to
Good
Cedars?
point. So, for the people online, the questions were, what are the actual rents they're getting for the property, and how far away from Cedar Hill Apartments do you live?
So rents for the one bedrooms are starting around $10.79, and then for the two bedrooms, about $13.59 starting.
For those premiums, however, it is higher. So 1079 is the non-premium unit for like the one bedroom. So it's going to go up higher from there.
Yeah, and then I live about, depending on traffic, about an hour 15. Now, part of the reason why I like to leave very early, it's like
Yep, it's quicker.
35, 40 minutes, leaving early in the morning.
Where do you live?
Plano.
Plano. You guys know where Cedar Hill is? Yes. Yeah, it's way down south. Okay.
I guess we don't have any more questions.
I have a question. Leo, you first. Go ahead.
What's up, Leo?
How does it work with, do you have any, like on evictions, do you ever have any problems with, local government or it's not pretty smooth?
Yeah, so questions are, how do you handle evictions? Any issues getting people evicted with local government, or do they go pretty smooth?
Yeah, so for evictions, I only have done one so far, and I've done it
Nice.
myself.
Wait, 1 year, one eviction.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice.
So taking Terry advice, I did it myself just to kind of get the lay of the land to see. And I got lucky because that judge was very landlord friendly. So I've heard horror stories at times, but there's all the residents that tried to object, nothing worked out for them. So
Excellent.
very landlord friendly.
So there's a judge that enforced the law.
Exactly.
So it's about live where you want, invest where it makes sense, right? Typically, Lifestyles owners buy in areas where the landlord-tenant laws are friendly to landlords, right? Texas state law, right? You don't pay, you don't stay. Get out. right? Dell's got a great story about that too. But
Can I
yeah,
ask a question?
yes, you may, of course. One more question.
Okay, how many square feet is your one bedroom?
Okay, so for 1079, how many square foot is that one bedroom?
602 square feet.
It's like $170, $180 a foot.
We are market leaders.
Excellent. Good job. Well, thank you all very much for
Wait, I
sharing
have
your
a
story.
question.
Okay.
You missed out from 2014 through 2020,
Oh, yeah, that's
right?
yeah,
6
yeah,
or 7 years.
yeah.
So you've got to have these conversations with each other or with the guy in the mirror every now and again saying, ugh. So what would you tell the new folks in the room or out there online, there's about 300 of them out there, that have been sitting on the fence or even the ones that just came in brand new today, what would you tell them knowing what you know now?
Or what would you do different?
So even buying our house, I think the lesson in real estate is everything's always going up. So I would jump in. If we started when we learned about LU, we would be hit our financial freedom goal many, many, many years ago.
I started with you.
Huh?
I started. Right
He
by
started.
Oh,
there.
yeah. I could be a mentor at this point. So I would definitely, of course, get comfortable, come to the 2-day, ask a lot of questions. There's so many people, from passives to mentors to leads. Everybody's always willing to answer your questions. So if there's doubt, make sure you get your questions answered. If you have a spouse, make sure that they're on board. But, you do it right, I don't think you're going to have an issue.
And I say that jokingly because you're 100% right? Everybody wishes they would have done it, 10 years ago. I listened to the radio for 5 years before I came to a case study. I listened to Dell on the radio, right? I wish I would have started in 2008 instead of 2013, right? So seriously, the time is now. Go back and sign up with Keith to come this weekend. Online, I think they have a code for you. You're going to give them a code or something? But let's everybody thank Franklin and Erica, please. Thank you very much. Good showing.